In this video, we'll be going over the term batter. In order to illustrate the term, we will be deep frying some Oreo chocolate sandwich cookies, Twinkies, and bananas. We'll make a batter to dip those in before they go into the deep fry oil. And for that batter, we'll need pancake mix, eggs, milk, and oil. You'll notice I have 2 bottles of oil here, and that's because we need a little bit of oil for our recipe for the batter, but we need a large amount of oil to deep fry. To prepare our battered recipe, we're going to need several pieces of equipment. I have a deep fryer. We'll need a mixing bowl for the batter, some tools to mix that with. I have a whisk, rubber scraper. We'll need a straight edge spatula. We'll need liquid, measuring cups, dry measuring cups, measuring spoons, some custard cups. I have a slotted spoon and a spider to help get the fried items out of the deep fryer if we need. And of course we would want a paper towel lined plate to help things drain when they first come out of the fryer. One of the first steps in preparing my batter is to whisk together the egg, milk, and oil. We're going to whisk this until it's completely smooth and we see no separate parts of egg, oil, or milk. So one homogeneous mixture. And then I'm going to add my pancake mix. And I'm going to measure that just like I would measure flour. So I'm going to spoon the pancake mix into the measuring cup. Heap it over the top. Make sure it's filled all the way to the back. Level it off. And I'm doing a double batch of batter, so there's 1 cup. I need 2. You could also spoon this in over a small bowl and then level it off in there so that you could pour the excess pancake mix back into the bag and not waste any. So again, we're going to make sure this level all the way to the back of the cup. Set the mix aside. And now we're going to whisk the pancake mix until there are no dry lumps. And while I'm mixing this together, I have my deep fryer preheating to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. If you have a deep fryer, it's important to pay attention to the maximum and minimum lines. Make sure you always have at least a minimum amount of oil and don't go over the maximum amount. You want to be safe when working with a deep fryer. If you didn't have a deep fryer, you could set up your stovetop for deep frying with a deep saucepan or sauce pot, but you'd also want to have a thermometer in there to keep an eye on the temperature. And that would be a little more dangerous. You definitely have to keep an even closer eye. Not that you have to, that you can just walk away and let the deep fryer go on its own. But it is more, it is less secure to use the saucepan on the stovetop. You have a greater danger of fire. All right, so my mix is all set. I'm just going to let that sit for a minute and let my oil finish heating up. So to test my oil and make sure it's ready for the batter, I'm going to drip just a little bit of the batter mixture in, and you can see it floats right back up to the top. So I'm going to do one test Oreo first, and I've got a fork to dunk it, kind of drain off some of that excess batter, and then place it gently in the oil. You'll notice I have the basket in, but I have it all the way down. If it were up and I lowered these into the oil on the basket, I would end up sticking them or cooking them to the basket. So I want to make sure I don't do that. And I did a test Oreo before, and it made it seem like my batter was just a little too thin. So I added a little more pancake mix. And we want to put enough Oreos in here to really maximize the space, but we don't want to crowd the fryer. So you want them to fry well. You want them to be able to move around a little. So how many you can fit in is going to depend on the size of your deep fryer or your pan. And it looks like about 8 is going to be my maximum in this deep fryer. So we want them to cook for a few minutes on each side. And we're going to need to turn those over. And for that, you're going to want that slotted spoon or a metal tined fork. It's absolutely important that nothing plastic comes near this oil. It's so hot that it would melt it. Also, if you had anyone in your group that you were frying for with peanut allergies, and you had anything that you were frying, like these are Oreos, but let's say I wanted to do Nutter Butters, or some people do deep fried candy bars, and some of those might have nuts. So it'd be important to do all the things for the people without nuts in the fresh, clean oil, or that have a nut allergy, to make everything for anyone with a nut allergy in fresh, clean oil. And then you could fry the peanut items, or if you have 2 separate fryers available, make sure that one is designated for only non-peanut foods. So you can see our Oreos are coming along nicely. We're getting a nice golden color on all sides. And the basket could come up, but this is just as easy to take the slotted spoon. Or there's a specialty deep fry tool you can use called a spider. Kind of lets you grab more of them at once. And then I'm placing all of these onto the paper towel lined plate in a single layer. And before they completely cool, if you'd like to make them just a little more delicious, you could sprinkle them with powdered sugar before you serve them. So that's our Oreos so far. Let's try something else. So we're going to deep fry banana. And to do that, I'm just going to cut some 2 to 3 inch chunks of banana into my batter. Dip those just like I did the Oreo. Same thing with the fork, kind of drain the excess off. Whoop. Those don't stay as still as easily. Two more chunks to find in here. Keep those separate. And one more banana. I get about 8 chunks of banana in here as well, just like I did with the Oreos. I'm gonna make sure those get turned over so they get golden brown on all sides. This one seems to need some encouragement to stay on that second side. I'm also going to take a minute and clean out some of the little pieces that have fallen off of my fork so they don't get too burnt. That'd be a really yucky smell. Would not add a great flavor. Now, if you add too much, it makes it difficult for your fryer to work if you add too much food to it at once. And so it won't fry properly. And it also takes more time to come back to temperature. Depending on the food, if it's particularly cold, like when you deep fry meat, chicken nuggets or corn dogs, you might need some time to let the fryer recover and get back up to that 375 degrees. So our first couple of chunks of banana are all ready to come out. And again, I would recommend sprinkling these with powdered sugar before you serve. Deep fried banana may not be something you've thought of before, but it's really, if you like bananas, it's really tasty. So a few more here. And then we'll go for our last item that I don't think I'll fit 8 of in here. So one of the interesting features that this deep fryer has is you can actually drain things. There's a second spot. Our bananas just need a smidge more time. And that'll let us get our last item ready to deep fry. And we're gonna deep fry some Twinkies. Get my last couple pieces of banana out of here. Move some of my Oreos over to make room for my Twinkies when they come out. All right, so we're going to take that same fork. I'm going to press my Twinkie down into the batter. I think I want to put this in. Oh, there we go. Cover it. Probably be lucky if I get 4 of these in. I doubt I want to go more than that. I like it when the top fries first. I feel like that's doing a little bit better. So if I lift it up, plus then I can lift it up with the bottom on the fork, which makes it a little bit easier to transport from the batter bowl to the deep fryer. go. Flip those over. Oh, one of them wanted to flip right back. We'll just change its mind here with our slotted spoon, maybe. So you need to be extremely careful when working with the deep fryer. The fat can really hurt if it gets on you, but you also need to work calmly. Don't be so afraid of it that you drop things in, because that'll actually make it more likely to splash and burn you. So you need to be able to work calmly with the deep fryer. And keep in mind that it is flammable even in this situation, but like I said, that stovetop is even more so. But a fire needs 3 things to burn. It needs fuel, it needs oxygen, and it needs heat. So if something were to occur and we took away any one of those things, it would stop. If this would start to catch fire, we would want to turn off the electricity to it, whether that's turning off the deep fryer or unplugging it, or even going to the circuit breaker box and turning off the breaker. We'd want to put a lid on it to cover it up to smother it, or a damp towel, but you would never, ever, ever put water on a grease fire, because that will get the fire everywhere. If you remember, we've talked about that before. It's important to keep in mind, so I've had students get really confused in the past. They thought they waited for the oil. Remember, I tested my oil at the beginning, and they waited for the oil to start to steam. They expected it to boil like water for spaghetti. But here's the thing. Oil does not boil, all right? When you see steam coming off, or you see those bubbles that are in here, that's not from the oil. That's from the moisture leaving this food that we're frying. So if your oil gets too hot, it's going to reach a smoke point, and that's not going to, it's going to, if you see what looks like steam coming up from just oil, it's probably not steam, it's probably smoke, and your oil is about to catch fire and cause a lot of problems for you. So oil has a smoke point and a flash point. If you see that steam, quote unquote, coming off of your pan, it's probably not steam, it's probably smoke. And that means it's not far from the flash point. And when it hits that point, it just bursts right into flames, and you have a fire that you have to put out. So again, a grease fire never gets put out with water. You can catch yourself and the entire kitchen on fire if you try that. You have to smother it with a lid or with the proper type of fire extinguisher. But we want to take that oxygen away, turn the heat off so we don't continue to fuel it. So you want to work carefully so that you work safely whenever you're deep frying. So you'll notice, we said this is a batter lab. Another thing that often happens to foods, if they're not battered before they go into deep fryers, they might be breaded. It's a little bit different, but both coat the food in some other ingredients before they go into the oil. And if you are deep frying a lot, it's important that you clean your oil after it cools down. Now that's one of the things I love about this particular deep fryer, is it has this oil box underneath. And so when this is all finished, I can just move this dial. There's a filter inside the deep fryer. The oil moves down, everything gets filtered and left in the frying box. It comes apart into many separate pieces. They can even be put in the dishwasher, and I can clean that, and then that oil stays in that box until next time. And I can just slide it out and pour it back inside the deep fryer, and it keeps it safe to use. It doesn't let it go bad or become rancid, which is not only spoiled oil, but that's more likely to catch fire. So here we have our last deep fried Twinkie, ready to take out of the fryer. I've got some batter left. I think I'll just finish off my batter with some Oreos. Here we have a variety of battered and deep fried treats ready to enjoy.